If something comes up for me and I ask to talk about it, at first my partner says yes. When I share my feelings, he gets defensive and shuts down by telling me to leave. And then he doesn't return my calls or texts until the next day. And even then, he continues to avoid talking about it and just wants to pretend like nothing happens. Thank you for taking the time to send in this question, and I can imagine the edge and the challenge that come up when you're in this vulnerable place and you desire to share more with your beloved, and they potentially might be feeling uncomfortable or scared or possibly shamed, and they run in the other direction. Today I want to offer you up one of my favorite communication formulas, and to unpack such a topic, there's so many layers to it, but let's start with communication, because so often I find in the delivery of our message, even when we have the best of intentions, sometimes how the other person receives our delivery can make all the difference in staying more open for connection and unpacking the challenge or the issue or running away. So, the first piece, the way I love to go into conversations or communications that are edgier, where there's defenses up or already emotional triggers in the field, is to acknowledge the person that I'm in that experience with. Acknowledge your partner for something that you appreciate about them, or something that's really relative to the situation at hand. Maybe what worked for you in the experience versus going right into what didn't work for you. I find uplifting through that appreciation. It allows one's heart to soften and both hearts to stay open, and it becomes more like an invitation. Wow, I want to be curious now, because wow, you just kind of understood me and gave me some acknowledgement, and I want to hear more about what you're feeling. So it creates closeness. Yeah. So the next piece is being clear on what you're feeling. So often when we are in an emotional upset, we get so caught up in the evaluation, the story. I've done it. I've spent 10 minutes talking about a whole situation, and within that, what gets lost in translation is truly what I'm feeling and what I'm needing. And often also what happens within explaining a scenario, if there's already high emotions, the other person might get defensive and have their emotional triggers of shame or feeling blamed start to get triggered. So what are you feeling? Like, I would ask myself, what am I feeling? Share your feelings rather than telling them that they triggered you or they did something wrong, or versus the whole evaluation and story. Admit that, wow, this is really vulnerable for me, and I can imagine that this might be challenging for you as well. So voice that. Be honest about that. Yeah. So the next piece is um, getting curious. Getting curious about if you're upset at a choice that your partner made. Get curious and ask questions, right? Often a defense wall can soften when we start to get curious about the other person. So, let them know, wow, you really want to know, like, I'm wondering why you did this that way, because I know I would have did it differently. So I'm just curious so I can learn more about you, and maybe we can create a win-win situation out of this. So get curious also shows that you care about this person. So some examples is, I'm noticing I was needing X, Y, and Z, whatever that might be for you, when I was feeling X, Y, and Z, and I'm curious why you might have approached the situation like that. What were you needing that I potentially was unaware of? And express that, if this is true for you, that the reason you're having the conversation is because you want to grow together and you want to create more connection and intimacy. The more that our partners or whoever we're in this conversation with can know that we're doing it out of wanting to create more connection and intimacy, and that we acknowledge that it's a challenging conversation, that it also has a way of keeping the heart open and just taking baby steps and going slow. Compassion for yourself and your partner.